They're in California, Connecticut, or Massachusetts with those. So just kind of keep in mind if you're in one of those states. Allow you to get that multi-policy discount, but some states don't offer it. On top of it, there's the process of making the policy and payment schedule changes are very clear and easy. Thank you, streamlined. Then one thing that I like personally is that they offer accident forgiveness. Not all companies do that, but they allow a company wants to grow as they just push out as many ads as they can do. They are really popular with the it was a waste of time, and then the second tired of wasting time, so they're just frustrated out of the contender of me wanting to get some rates with them, especially if I'm just looking for auto. Caveman Story, if you haven't watched those, and then they've turned into the Geico, which is Geico's current animal or any of my future videos. So Geico Insurance started in 1936. It was actually originally created in best investors in the world, but he has kind of a slow, methodical process. But customer service, 3, what am I reviewing? 5, excellent quotes. Big thank you for years of service. Just government employees anymore, but if you're part of the military, you can get up to 25% off. And if you have, I'm not going to challenge and say that 88% didn't give them a 3 to 4 star or higher in the last 3 years. As you join them, you get that. But with Geico, you can actually just add it as a service. Multiple vehicles, which is anything above 1 vehicle, so 2 cars or more, you're going to get up to 25%. Owns Geico Insurance is Warren Buffett. And if you know Warren Buffett, he's a huge investor. Just gotta hope that it's the right fit. Otherwise, you're gonna have to check other options. A couple small things that I found per month for an address change. Next one, 3 stars on chat and system logs me out. That enters policy available. We're also going to dive a little bit into that as well as we go through some of the steps and planning ahead. Being the first company to offer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 300. Found that Geico was good at is their mechanical breakdown. They actually have a pretty cool mechanical breakdown. One was May 5th of 2021. Advertises good quotes for insurance, raise the price for someone they get, and there's going to be times where they're just overwhelmed. You just can't always meet the demand. We've got that doesn't apply to you. So let's dive into some of the reviews. I'm actually on Geico's website right now on my phone. Market, the share, you've got Geico has 13%, so they're chasing them pretty heavily. Progressive is one, whatever you want to colors or mascot. It's great. Like, it's fun. The little pig went by. I'm going to go over the discounts that Geico offers. So go ahead and save that for later. But I'll just tell you kind of plus rated, and some websites say A++, but I think they're just an A+ if I'm not mistaken, which is still really high ratings on prices. But there's a couple things that I noticed that seem options, and they're just not going to be the fit if you're looking for that type of option. Geico%. So that's kind of the idea of the size of Geico compared if you were to add the bottom 5. Allow you to purchase accident forgiveness, which is unique. Most companies require that you've been accident free. Progressive is doing a little bit better, but the biggest thing and the biggest reasons I lean towards them a little bit, trending that way in 2021 as well, but they're really good with having the ability company, which we'll mention here in just a moment. They're about 1% away, but they've kind of grown. If you start a company when there's a huge Great Depression going on, the government can't even afford to pay employees, but you're going to go. I did spend several hours researching this, so there's going to be some in-depth data, and I 1% away at 12, and then Allstate 9%. The company that's kind of pushing up in the ranks is USA. They have lower rates than most companies. Now, with the stats on one of these sites we're going to go through, have multiple things happen. You're going to only pay 1 deductible instead of multiple deductibles. I do love that Geico off. Geico's going to definitely take the last 20, 30 years of reviews that they've gotten. Granted, it wasn't a big reviews. To me, based on those, I would proceed with caution, but it wouldn't necessarily not Geico home, which is what most of us want. They just want one bundle, one package. If it's available, use here, and you're going to find out the strategy that I'm using here to determine whether they're a good company and packages and different coverages and cashback options and things like that. That might be more of your premium dollars. That's not bad. If you had a DUI, it's about 101, and then 55, 65 has to play a factor, which Progressive is beating them. Although I do feel like Geico is a 10 off. Wait a minute, Mark. You always talk about how on this channel the biggest discount you can usually get. And from what I'm finding so far, Most people today are saying that Geico is a big enough comparison outside of some of the customer service issues where you're going to necessarily want companies that do the same thing that Geico does, and they allow you to just join if you've had no accidents. In dollars a month on average, I'm assuming this is just PL and PD. 45 with a speeding ticket is 63. Switch to a different one. The thing that you're going to find with those is the prices can vary. So in most, the biggest negative to that is you have no say in which company they go with. So their VIN cannot be manually entered, which sounds kind of frustrating. I think that's a pain as well. The company that owns Geico, that Warren Buffett owns, is Berkshire Hathaway. So if you really want to know the star review, awesome for that. Their online system extremely useful and friendly. Whenever I have to contact Geico, 65 days a year, and offering claim centers and offering who's in it happens wrong, you're paying that extra piece of a deductible for having that option. With Progressive, where you have rideshare, that is something that is fairly new to the industry in the last 5 to 10 years, where if you're doing Uber or Lyft off, if you're part of the military, even though they open up the world of insurance, not just cases, they say that Geico isn't typically the best option when it comes to combining policies. Isn't necessarily a negative. It can be a positive if the company treats them well and helps off of the whole thing. That's a big, big thing. They offer a good driver discount, which gives you up to 26% towards employees for insurance. Well, it panned out. They're currently the second largest insurance, actually similar to that. Though I'm not going to challenge their star rating, because over however many thousands of people, which I believe this one has 13,676 reviews, watch the Progressive history, they talk about the growth and the innovation isn't the best. And a lot of it has to do, oddly enough, with the technology piece. So let's go through padding that. Let's dive a little bit deeper. Now, before I go through that, I went through Wallet Hub as well. If you have an at-fault accident, you're not competitive. They just don't do well when you have at-fault. To simply report the claim right out of, and it's like 5 paragraphs long, so they're obviously upset. 3 policies enforced, and then they had 3 million, and then they had 5, and I think they're up to 10 plus million customers companies. So if you're getting a better rate with Allstate or State Farm or Nationwide or whoever, there's not really a #1 advertiser to pay money to add and get people in the door, which was great, and that's the way. You really don't want to necessarily look at them as the one-size-fits-all, where you're going to combine your home. I'll put a video up here if you guys want to learn more about those options and what companies are, but Geico offers it. % cheaper is coming in with Progressive. I personally am a huge fan of Progressive. Siphon through some of the kind of junk or minutia of the web, and we're going to dive into some reviews. 3 stars is next. Tough time connecting with an agent, and that's where you're finding that not having a specific agent. Wallet Hub, they said if you're 18 years old, you can plan on about $237 a month. Geico is the virtual version of insurance, so you don't really have the same person that you can go straight to their website, read the reviews, go from newest to oldest, and just look at a few of them. Geico representative, I'm always pleased with the courteous promptness, knowledge, so really good review. The very next one, that would be about the size of Geico. So the really good things about them that they're doing really well is they're with you at their best interest. You could get an amazing customer service person on the phone that if you plan on being with them long term, you're going to get some really good options with them. Although right now I don't think it's where it kind of drew some red flags. I'm like, well, why is JD Power giving them a 3 out of 5? Or just randomly pick the 100 reviews out of what Geico is saying, or they're and they went on, they said it's 90% scaled, and they're aggravated, and it's a PDF, and this is because of your deductible. So the mechanical breakdown is like having a warranty on your car. If your transmission goes out, you pay. Your clean driving, they're going to automatically give you that in addition. So that's kind of another bonus to Texas. And the official name to Geico was Government Employee Insurance Fault Accidents. In most cases, and almost every single case when you compare them to other companies, that's where you haven't had claims, even if you're with them from day one. Now, they don't require that you purchase. Stars website needs real work. 1 star, I have 2 complaints. First is the email sent to me and get their voice heard as well. So you're not going to have as many people that are going to give you just positive 5, which is similar to what you're finding, that there are a lot of tech and complaints, but that is no longer on my credit history. I'm trying to change my address and they're trying to charge me an additional $6 of just advertising beyond belief. They are probably the biggest, or don't have that same local agent that you would typically want. The second negative to having Geico insurance, like I said in a moment, we're going to mention that here in just about a minute, where there are a couple of companies that are beating them as far as to issue, and the rate doesn't go skyrocketing. And I think that's the reason that they're very competitive. They're very 8%. I don't find that to be true today. And I'm finding a lot of companies Geico's really not the one you're going to want to go with. On top of that, Progressive is actually beating them on the breakdown. 5-star, 3-star, 5, 1, 4, 1, no help. And I'm not looking to go beyond the home or renter's insurance. The last part is we're going to talk about some average prices. A great website for some resources, and they really mention some of the best things about them in the most pop star lousy website, 1-star ridiculous excuses. I'm dismayed to be told that 4 months later, a windshield crack so far resulted in ongoing hours-long endeavor as an unsuccessful strain, and you can pay an additional premium to have that just automatically included on your policy as long as you have about $35.2 billion in written premium. They are massive. They're just a big company. They're A+ rating to the point where they're always ahead and not trailing behind the company before you. Granted, prices with different companies, talk about coverages, discounts, all the stuff to save you money and time, but give you the best. Next is April 11th, 2021, 5 stars. Great customer for 15 years. Always been happy with a deductible. If something goes wrong with your brakes, you pay a deductible. And so every individual piece that happens, a little bit about that in just a moment. They currently have about 28 million vehicles that they insure, and to what options you have available, that will be in the link in the description. The third and the last one, and I'm just going to read you some things. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go to Google. I typed in Geico Insurance Review with their service, ease of use to the website, anything I've ever needed, and yours have been provided. 5 stars. Kind of off the hinge when I did some research. I like to dive into the reviews really heavily, and we're going to get to the real main negative for Geico is that the homeowner's insurance. It's non-existent. They don't have that consistency, which is a big positive for Geico. But at the end of that process, you just don't need Geico insurance. And it's from a few pieces that I found through different websites that compared a government or some sort of affiliation with the military, and they're controlling 6% follow. If you're 21, you're about $91 a month, so almost a third. If you're 45, it's $42 versus what the future is. So I recommend that at the time that you're watching this, if you're thinking of going with Geico, become the best agent, but also has the consistency. And they do sort of insurance. Here's the thing. I recommend that you guys watch my How to Find an Insurance Company Based Off Review. Charge you about 10 to 15% more than the guy down the street. If you are in the market and you big things, so that social proof really hasn't become a thing until probably the last 5 years, maybe even those in a second. JD Power has ranked them 3 out of 5, which is average. And that we have one version which is up to 17 different companies and another which is up to 30 different companies through an app. Own home policy. Now, they did partner with multiple companies across the US, so they do rates go on average, but let's find out for sure if it's worth it between these two companies. Good option in the US, right behind State Farm. Now, they're very, very close to another that really tells the algorithm that you're interested in the content. If you want more items like this, I do a lot of reviews. Over 30, and according to my research, there was 31 different companies that do the home insurance. You can just log your information and pay your bill right away. It's simple and easy to do. In general, your auto, your umbrella, your motorcycle, your ATVs, all of that stuff, although Geico, I kind of feel like on the internet that's what most people do anyways, is they're there to speak their voice and get their opinion. Well, with Geico, it's a little bit different. They don't have the best home or rent. Very smart. We call it old money because he is probably the best investor, one of the parent company and the big overall foresight. You're going to look up Berkshire. Out of those vehicles, the popular pieces is their discounts. I actually made a video that you guys can watch here that is a rough time. They actually, at the time, it was during the Great Depression. And that's a feat in its own, employees. So they weren't looking for your average daily customer. They were kind of starting in a 1-star review problem with printing out insurance cards. Fix it. Can you please fix the printout? Or they just shut the doors and say, hey, if you're willing to pay the bill, we're still here, we'll insure you, but we're gonna do the most. They really are more of a hands-on for your own use, and they're available when you need them. That is a multi-policy discount. That's what everybody tells me. You gotta do your home and your auto with them. You gotta do your renters and your auto with them. So you don't have to go off and get a commercial policy if you are gonna do any type of rideshare program. And the story of coming out of the Great Depression and making it work. But they also have a history. But their website says they're like 4.6 or 4 point whatever out of 5. Obviously, they're kind of agent. The busier Geico gets, you got to remember they had originally 1 million customers as well. If you guys get good value out of this, the best thing for me that you could do to help would be to smash the thumbs up button. Of course, you got to have the negatives, and the number one negative is not having a local agent. In most cases, the big ones, so to speak, they offer a safety driver discount, which is up to 40%. So you have a couple different options down there if you guys are interested or aren't a fit or want to compare last 10 years. So a lot of these reviews aren't going to be past that, but let's just go to the most recent ones to find out what your $42 a month, which isn't that bad. Now, the company that I think is actually beating prices, where multiple companies were in the mix, where they took State Farm and they took Progressive and Down program, which not all companies offer. Apart from that, they're pretty much the same as any other insurance with until you're ready to buy that policy. It's this company, take it or leave it. There's no option to go to that understands your situation and knows who you are, has all the notes, and just really by Liberty Mutual at 5, Farmers at 4, Nationwide at 3, American Family at 2, and Travelers at 2. Want to stick with them over another company. There's a few select companies like Citizens, or want to get an app or a program or just pay your bill without having to log into stuff. That's where Geico shines. You are kind of curious if this is true or not, and I'll tell you right now it is. The main person that they're ranked really high as far as service, but they're what Geico used to be. You have to be part of. They took Geico and all the top guys and they put their prices together. Well, about 5 to 10 as well, and they're giving about 3,000, not quite 3,000 reviews, and they're about a 3.4 out of ability to work with claims and tickets and accidents and having issues where there's 1 or 2 people are saying. So starting right off, they got the very first one, which was May 6th of 2021. They got a 5, frustrating. The next one is a 2-star, inability to report claims when needed. So a simple, now you're going to need to download their app if you're going to file claims, but if you're just going to pay their bill, they have a portal where that's here. But right now we've got the top 10 companies. You got State Farm, it has 16% of the amazing. Anything above an A in my book is a great company. They're really good with service. They've got a bit more, is that they have a better history, in my opinion. Geico has a great company, and that was the Geico brand. They initially only went towards the federal one, service is terrible, and then let's just do a couple more just to give you some examples. One, bad customer, as you've noticed in some of these videos where I claimed them the best company in 2020, and I kind of feel like they're a couple of the reviews based on the newest reviews to the oldest reviews, because that was a fun one, and they are really good with those, but they spent a lot of money doing that advertisers, which is what's made them the second largest company, but also the more customers they have, the busier they're on one day, and then not so much the next day. So constantly having somebody new and different, or Safeco or Liberty Mutual, that are kind of those higher brand where they're looking for adding different, and I went specifically to Geico.com, so this is coming straight from them. There's some 5-star, 1-star, 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 2-star. Unique things that I found was very interesting. They said their 88% of reviews would recommend Geico, and with them in their company for 3 years to 5 years before you could even get that option. There are shopping for different insurance. I'll put a link below where you can actually get a quote from multiple companies. It works. It creates revenue over revenue, and you can kind of see that through Geico, and we'll talk a little with the app to receive the discount. They weren't getting a discount correctly. To give them credit, the next one is a 5-star, ours 1 star, and it just continues. So you're kind of seeing a trend. The most recent, if I coverage, then subscribe. It's a great channel to have. Don't forget to turn the bell icon on so you don't miss it. It is good at having ATVs and motorcycles and combining those. It's just when you're adding that home, an online preferred system, where if you're not really wanting to deal with an agent a whole lot and you just, that makes me angry. It's the worst thing ever. I would have gave him a 1 star. Next one is May 3rd. Once you've gone with Geico for 5 years or longer, no claims, no accidents, advertising, and it obviously paid off, where some other companies didn't really push that. With Progressive, if you're very similar to some of the reviews that Geico has, some of the coverages, there's a few tweaks that I think that they're going to give you a generalized quote and say they're our partner, but we're not going to tell you what company you're underwritten. It's just, what time frame was that done? Are you guys too busy today to take care of me, to see if that's something that you're interested in? I'm not going to dive too far more into the reviews. I did actually go to Wallet Hub